And welcome back to In This Corner. We just heard from Monty Cox, man. Awesome stories there. Great to hear from Monty. But now we are going to turn our attention to another Midwest guy, at least a transplant, if you will. We're talking about a 15-year veteran of mixed martial arts, of course, former two-time UFC heavyweight champion. Dude fought all over the place. UFC, Titan FC, Fight Nights Global, IGF, did a little wrestling. We're talking about the Maniac, Tim Sylvia. Tim, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm gonna correct you a little bit. It's considered 5-time UFC heavyweight champ.
Okay.
We consider our defenses as a 1 or 2 or 3. So that's
why.
Man,
that's why
Matt Hughes is a 9-time. And
Miletich, I was about to say Anderson Silva's like, well, he must be like a 15-time or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Crazy. Well, cool. Well, thank you for calling me out on that. I probably had a couple of guys hear that and they're like, whoa. I totally understand, man. 5-time. There's a wrestling reference there. Anyways, man, Davenport, Iowa. I'm an Iowa guy. Love talking to people in the great state of Iowa, the fields of opportunity. How has the coronavirus hit you, man? Obviously, everybody has been hit differently by this thing. What's your take on it?
It really hasn't affected me at all. If anything, it's kind of helped out the business that I work in. I'm a contractor and I am a project manager for a roofing company and stuff, and they consider us essential workers. Well, when all that all happened, April 7th, we had a massive hailstorm hit here in Davenport, Iowa, Bettendorf, Iowa, and Davenport, and it totaled thousands and thousands of homes. And with that happening and being the coronavirus, it took away the storm chasers. So all these big boys from, Nebraska and Colorado and all these other states that have big storm chasers, they weren't allowed to come in and start knocking doors. So it allowed all the local people to rely on us local guys, local contractors, so that when shit hits the fan and they just a leak happens or something like that, they call us and we'll be there. They ain't gonna worry about somebody being in 5 states over that'll never show up again, and they can trust us more than they can, these out-of-staters with their money and stuff. So
business is booming, is what you're saying, man. And not on top of everything else, man. It seems like you can't, swing a dead cat in Lowe's, man. You're going to hit 15 different people, or Home Depot, or any of those places, man. Everybody is working on their house. They're doing improvements. They're doing all this stuff, man. It's like that sort of business is going crazy right now because everybody's just wanting to do stuff to their house.
Well, people are home, during the coronavirus, they, were let off work, whatever, they had money saved up, whatever.
That's what
this
I'm
is the time to start doing stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Well, I'm glad to hear everything's going good, man. Obviously fights started back up. The UFC's done a few cards. Have you had a chance to check out some of the product and what they're doing? Obviously the heavyweights have been looking good. What do you think of the current UFC product?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a UFC fan. I'm an MMA fan, obviously. I watch Bellator, UFC, whatever I can. Any free fights are on, I always watch.
Yeah. You're a big MMA fan. What do you think of this heavyweight division? Some of these athletes now, man. It just seems like it's next level stuff right now.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
No, everyone's all on hype about Francis Ngannou grounding upon him. He's got heavy hands, but he's not a technical striker. He's just a wild, heavy striker. Stipe's amazing, great fighter, great athlete, but hell of a wrestler. But no, I don't really see any. DC's just a hell of a wrestler. So I don't really see any amazing athletes right now in the heavyweight division. I mean, we've seen it in the light heavy and stuff like that, but I think heavyweight is still just big dudes throwing big hands,
Yeah. What do you think about Jones going up to heavyweight? What do you think about the potential of something like that?
I think he does well against certain guys. Styles make fights. I think John Jones is the best of all time right now.
Wow.
Yeah, he's incredible, man. He's a hell of an athlete. The way he puts things together. Maverick, get the door, your friend, and tell him to be quiet. Sorry, my son's got his buddy coming over. And so, I mean, I hate his outside tactics, the stuff he's done. But, he's done a lot of growing the last few years, and he's actually done better with that stuff. I hope it doesn't, taint him too bad because he has the ability to go down as the best of all time, I think.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about UFC and you talk about, your crop of heavyweights, because you were kind of like in that next generation that came after, those classic golden era guys, with your Don Fries and your Tank Abbotts and, these big monster dudes, man. You guys were kind of that next class that came in. How do you compare, your generation of heavyweights compared to that old school generation?
Like myself, I mean, I'm 6'8", who's got a really good takedown defense, who was a great striker, so I was kind of like the new style striker who couldn't just get, I mean, I got taken down a few times, obviously, but, and those are my losses when I got, taken down by like Nogueira and stuff like that and Frank Mir. But, I think you can see that the generation is kind of moving forward, and I was the new generation for heavyweights. Wasn't greatly athletic, but I was just hard-headed, had great endurance and a good takedown defense and good striking.
Yeah, no doubt, man. You mean, so obviously some classic bouts, and when you look at that career, bro, I mean, like it's crazy. Obviously, the win over Rico Rodriguez, to first take the title, and then of course getting it the second time around over Arlovsky. Which one was sweeter, getting it the first time or getting it the second time?
Oh, definitely the second time, man. The first time just kind of happened. I had one fight in the UFC, and then next thing we know, it was like, hey, Rico Rodriguez says he wants to fight you for the title. I'm like, my second fight in the UFC, and I get a title shot? Okay. It was a win-win situation for us. If I lost, well, I just lost to the heavyweight champ. And if I won, when I won, obviously, it was good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the fights with Arlovsky, were great fights, man. Arlovsky was
definitely. Fighting Arlovsky definitely meant a lot more. I had to work my way back up. I suffered the break with Mir, and then I came back to fight Arlovsky for the interim title. And then he jumped on a quick submission. I heard a couple pops. I panic attacked, and I just had a broken arm. I didn't have a breaking ankle again. It took so long to recover from that. So those 2 losses in a row. So then I had to earn my keep. I think I fought Trey Telemann, and then Australia was over. And then I actually fought outside the UFC. Wes Sims won.
Yeah, and although you were on the losing side of this one, obviously the fight with Couture, I remember watching that fight, and everybody was behind Randy in such a big way for that fight, man. And I'm sure that had to be a weird feeling going into that fight. We going against like this incredible fan favorite guy in Randy Couture, like this amazing story guy. I mean, his age at the time and everything that went into it. Talk about that fight, man. Just the aftermath before, everything leading into it.
It just sucked. I wish I was healthy for that fight. I had 2 bulge discs going into it, blew another one out during the fight. Love Randy. He's been an idol of mine. We're good friends now. I help him with this charity when he comes to town here in the Quad Cities. We did a bike ride last year. We're doing it again this year. Randy flew me out to Oregon for helping with his training. Yes, I stayed in his house. There's a fight. I just got that, and he came with a better. He put a game plan together. I didn't. I just went out there. I'm like, man, I beat the Randy whenever we train. Whenever we train, I always beat him up. I thought I was going to do the same thing. And no, he basically just took, 8 weeks and trained to fight Tim Sylvia. And he did a hell of a job. My hat goes off to him, and he took that one. I always wanted my rematch, but he wouldn't.
Yeah, man. It was historic, man. It definitely had so much hype built around it, and I just remember like it was yesterday. It was a lot of fun to watch as a fan. When you talk about Miletich, man, and this group that you guys got together there, of course, Matt Hughes, Pat being the coach, Jens, and it just seems like you guys were such a cohesive group together. And the interesting thing, and I didn't realize this, that you just got up and sold everything and moved down to Bettendorf, Iowa. Man, walk me through that situation, because that's a huge separation going from Maine to Iowa, at least a little bit anyways. It just seems like the people are a little –
Oh, it was huge, man. I left everything I ever known back in Maine. I was training MMA in Maine. I had a wrestling background, karate background, boxing background, but didn't, I did a little bit of jiu-jitsu there. I started doing some amateur fighting, and I started doing really well at it, but I'd show up at fights and guys were like, "No, I'm not fighting him. He's too big." That's when I was playing semi-pro football all the time. And then, a bunch of us buddies would have a chance to go to the first UFC in New Jersey. We went there and I met Miletich and stuff. And, man, he was just awesome. And we got talking about fighting and stuff. And he asked if I fought. I said, yeah, I fight a little bit. I haven't had time finding training, finding the fights. He's like, "Come to Iowa, man. We got plenty of big guys for you." So, I went there and loved it for 2 weeks. And he actually invited me to move back there and join the team. Said that, looking for a good, solid heavyweight. And I was a good person, he's go along with everybody and stuff. So I literally went back to Maine and sold off everything I owned and moved there like 2 or 3 months later. And, it worked out. Yeah, I said to my family, I said, I'm going to give it a year. And if it doesn't work out and, I'm struggling for money or whatever, I always get a place to come. But I'm going to take my chance, take my risk, and it paid off.
Yeah, not a lot of people are willing to take that chance, man, and it did pay off in a very, very big way. And getting back to the career, actually, you know what? Before that, can you give me a good story from Miletich? Just you guys had a pretty wild range of characters there. There has to be a good gym story. There has to be a good story from back in the day.
One something always sparks my mind, man. It's hilarious. So we're in the locker room getting ready to fight. I got to fight. I think I'm ready to fight Rico. Yeah. So I was sharing a locker room with Lindland and a few other guys and stuff. And Miletich has got on these brand new sweatpants that he's bragging about. The company gave them to him, whatever. Back in the day, us getting free clothes was a big deal. Now it just comes, But he was really excited about these damn sweatpants and stuff. And Lindland gets up to go fight, and Pat's got these 2 big fat hot dogs and chips and stuff, and he gets up and puts them under his seat of his chair. He's like, go get him, kick his ass, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes to sit down. Well, those chairs are where when you get up, the seat automatically flips up. So he goes to sit down, and he sat right in his damn hot dogs and mustard and ketchup all over his ass. He squished his hot dogs. He was all stopped. I go out on TV, and I got ketchup and mustard on my ass and all over my brand new sweatpants. He was so mad.
I can only imagine.
Everybody in that locker room laughed at it. And back, it's like we're all badass fighters. And it's like, and there was some cornerman people like that kind of laughed too and thought it was funny. He would give them dirty looks and be like, "What the f are you laughing at?" But he didn't, he didn't pull that with us. So
did you have a good relationship with Dana?
No, not at all.
Really? So talk to me about it, man. I don't know, myself. I would love to hear about that because everybody has a different relationship with that guy.
He's just
what those it's like.
He's just a dude. I mean, he really is. Any guy that talks about fighters the way he does and treats them the way he does, he's just a. If you don't kiss his ass, he doesn't like you. He didn't like Miletich. Miletich didn't kiss his ass. Pulver didn't kiss his ass. Monty never did. And we would fight for what we wanted and stuff. And if he tried to disrespect me, I hear about him disrespect me online or anything, I would confront him with it. I would have no problem saying, "Dude, I heard you say this, and I don't appreciate this and that." Him and I got into several different hollering matches over the years of me being in the UFC and stuff. And if you don't kiss his ass and you're one of his buddies, then he doesn't really treat you right. If everything goes well while you're making the money and stuff, when you're not making the money or you tell him, then obviously things don't go well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, and I don't know if I'm, right or wrong about this, but it seems like guys like maybe yourself that maybe he doesn't really have in mind to be the champion or to, pull off 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 wins in a row. It seems like as soon as that loss happens,
Yep.
things tend to blow over and tend to get crazy.
Absolutely. I mean, they treated Andre Arlovski like, after he lost a couple fights and stuff, and he wasn't happy with his contracts and stuff like that. They treated him like shit. That's why he left. I left, There's just so many guys that he treated like crack. He really, really did Jens Pulver dirty. He was able to kind of talk Matt Hughes into screwing over Monty Cox, and Matt kind of played into his game and stuff. So that's kind of why he's been good with Matt and stuff. But yeah, I mean, look what he's done to Frank Shamrock. I mean, Frank Shamrock should be in the Hall of Fame. You know, that's just ridiculous. And as a matter of fact, I think, you know, so should I, and so should Jens. You know, I mean, Jens is the first ever lightweight champ, bantamweight, whatever you want to call him. You know, I'm a 5-time UFC heavyweight champ, and they got a piece of Matt Serra in there.
Yeah, man, it's touchy, dude. It's like anything, you know. It's a business, and these things are going to happen, unfortunately. And I hate that you were kind of a casualty of that. But you know, that being said, you know, you moved on and you got to fight all over the world. And I like talking to folks that, you know, that have been all around the world with this fight game, because I think it's cool to be able to see the globe on somebody else's dime and to be able to fight all over the place.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, I know you fought over in Russia, you fought in the Philippines, a number of different places. Talk about traveling all over the place, man, and kind of living
awesome,
that
man.
life, that mercenary gun for hire life.
That was one of the best things about, you know, being a professional fighter, being a heavyweight, being a high commodity. You know, people wanted me. They wanted to see me, and I got paid very well for it. You know, I was a professional fighter for 16 years and supported my living and you know, paid for my farm and one of my houses and stuff down there. So, yeah, I mean, Russia was cool as hell. They really took care of me over there. The Philippines was really cool. The commission was a bunch of crooks. The commission was awful in the Philippines.
Wow.
Yeah, really bad. Japan is incredible. I mean, they love heavyweights there. They love American fighters. So that was just a good time. Been there several times. Obviously, you know, I pro wrestled over there and stuff. So I really, really like Japan. China was cool. You know, they brought us over there for some fights, and they're going to talk about setting up some fights with us and stuff. It just never happened. But that was a beautiful, beautiful place, you know, with the Beijing stuff, where the Olympics were, and really clean. The food was phenomenal. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I was very, very fortunate. But I don't know how many countries I've been to. I think I try to count at like 20-some countries I've been to and stuff.
Yeah.
And never paid a dime to go to any of them.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, man. And it really opens up your mind and kind of gets you cultured and see what the rest of the world is like. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity. So I know I definitely appreciate it myself. I got to ask you about, you know, you fought Pudzianowski. Obviously, you fought Fedor. But the thing about Pudzianowski was at Moosin. What can you tell me about this show? Because this is one of those shows that I always saw Butterbean on there, you know, Pudzianowski, yourself. It just seemed like these big names that were over there. And when I found out it was just in Massachusetts, that always like threw me off. Like I always thought it was like somewhere else. Like for some reason I had it in my mind that it was like somewhere like in Poland or something like that. Cause I didn't think they'd bring Pudzianowski to Massachusetts. Like it just doesn't seem to make sense. But tell me about Moosin, man. Tell me about that whole.
There's a big Polish community in Massachusetts. I think that's why they brought him there. But you probably know more about it than I do. I just show up and fight, man. At the end of the day, I just show up and fight. You know, I think I went there for the press conference. You know, I'm from the East Coast, so I think that's kind of why they want to do it in Mass. You know, we had a good following from the East Coast, from, you know, my fans and people who followed me. But I'm probably willing to bet 80% of the crowd was Polish. It seemed like very, very hostile territory when we were going in there. I mean, it was pretty wild. It kind of seemed like I was in Poland. That's how it was. So, and I even had some fans, some of the Polish fans after the fight, man, they were like, man, that was fixed. That was a fixed fight. I go, what are you talking about? He took a dive. I'm like, are you serious? You really think he's that good that he could go 3 rounds? No, he couldn't breathe. He couldn't breathe, and he gave up is what happened, because he knew he couldn't get me down. But it was a fun fight, a very fun fight. But yeah, I don't know much about the organization, man. It
was just, I don't know, man. It was just one of those ones that it always sounded interesting.
I don't even know how Butterbean got involved. I don't even know how Butterbean got involved. I don't even know who else helped him put the fights on, to be honest with you. I had a good manager, and he got a, you know, I was getting like $50,000 to fight those small fights and stuff, and he would make sure I got half of it up front before we even fought. So it was like, yeah, I'll fight.
That is a good manager. That's a great manager.
Yeah, because, you know, we got burned once, so we made sure that didn't happen again.
Yeah. Well, you know, you fought over in Japan. How many fights did you actually have in Japan? Just the one, right? And then you did some wrestling over there too, right?
I'm trying to think, man.
Yeah, let me double check here.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, one.
Yeah, I think just the one, man, against
Yeah,
Ishii.
but I had been there. I guess I had been there probably half a dozen times for other fighters like that. Yeah. Yeah, I had the one
Yeah,
fight over there. Totally got screwed on a decision. Beat the, I fought on. Who did I even fight?
Ishii. Yeah,
Ishii.
Satoshi
Yeah,
Ishii. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, U.S. What is he? He was the Japanese. Is he gold medalist?
Yeah, he was a gold medalist. I'm pretty
Got me down.
positive. Yeah.
Got me down once in 15 minutes. I hurt him and rocked him, and I did it twice in the fight. And every time I did, they stopped to check on my cut that I got during the first round. Just a bull fight, man. He pushed me up against the ropes, and every time he did, he would break away to try to fire, and I'd blast him in the knees and stuff. And I thought I won that easy decision, and they gave it to him. The whole crowd booed, and then after the fight, he came in and he's like, "Man, I'm sorry, you won that fight. That's what they did with you, But we knew that going into Japan, that it's happened to so many Americans, man. When
Well, not even just Japan. I mean, just in other countries in general, you hear about it. I mean, it's just,
oh yeah,
I've seen it happen a bunch of times, just being an announcer and stuff. And
yeah.
I literally had a fight where I was given the decision, and then I looked at the promoter, and he told me to go to the other guy. So, I mean, it's literally happened.
It happened in UFC. Michael Bisping got his ever-living beat out of him by Anderson Silva in England, got knocked out, and they picked him up and put him on the stool. So he recovered during the round, knocked him out at the end of the round, and this corner picked him up, and they did nothing about it and let him finish the fight, and he wins the decision? No way. And then again, Dan Henderson beat the ever-living tire out of him in England again. I mean, smashed him and beat him up. The guy couldn't even see straight. And England, they gave it to him again. So, I mean, it was just bull. Michael, I can't stand Bisping either. He's one of the biggest jokes of the UFC.
Well, yeah, I mean, is there kind of a list that Tim Sylvia has of some guys that have just kind of rubbed him the wrong way, or just guys you just don't really vibe with very good?
Two, yeah, Michael Bisping and Matt Serra, man.
Yeah,
both too. You just listen to them talk. They do.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It's
well,
I've never had an interaction with Serra.
I love everybody. I like everybody.
Yeah, you seem like a pretty easygoing guy. I don't know how anybody can make you mad. You fought Fedor. Do we have a Donald Trump story? Do we have anything like that? I feel like there should be a Trump story there.
Yeah, Trump was a huge fight fan, and him and I talked several times. Hung out a couple times, and then when I was getting ready to fight him, he came back to my locker room and said, "Hey, just want to wish you good luck. He goes, from what I understand, you're going to win this fight, man." He goes, "I'll be rooting for you." Well, obviously, it didn't go my way. I didn't perform, and Fedor did. But I talked to him afterwards and stuff. He's like, "Yeah, good job. It's a fight game, right?" I go, "Oh, yeah. It happens, And
Yeah.
that's the last time I talked to him. And then next thing you know, he's our president, right?
Yeah. Did you guys have anything else planned for Affliction, or was it just the one fight? And obviously, what happened to it.
I had a 3-fight deal with them. And then I was supposed to fight I was going to fight Paul Buentello next.
Yeah.
And
Headhunter.
Yeah, it didn't happen. And then Josh Barnett tested positive for steroids, and that gave the bad press, and the UFC came in and offered him a number and bought him up, which sucked. But they honored everybody's contracts but mine and Andrei Arlovsky's.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, everybody else fought in the UFC after that. Even Paul Buentello went back to the UFC after the Affliction days, and then he got cut from the UFC, and then him and I fought, and I knocked him out. Finally, him and I got to meet, and I knocked him out in California for some other promotion. I'm not even sure what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, I love Buentello, man. Hard hitter, man. That dude.
Oh, yeah. Good guy. I like Paul. He's a great guy, great competitor, good fighter. Yeah, definitely. Good champ.
Well, I got to ask you, man, with the wrestling, I feel like there could have been more with the wrestling. Did you want there to be more with the wrestling? Did you have some big plans with it? Kind of hit me up on that, because I remember hearing the rumors, and I remember the whole TNA thing, and what's up with the wrestling?
I wanted it. I definitely wanted it. That was my end game. I wanted to do that for a few years, and because fighting didn't pay off like it was supposed to. Ideally, everything went according to plan. I beat Fedor. I would have had 2 more fights in Affliction. I would have retired, but it didn't pay off, and the UFC didn't honor my contract, so I had to fight the smaller shows and stuff. But yeah, I would have loved to have fought. And done wrestling. I enjoyed it. It was fun. and we thought it was going to work out, but it just didn't. I never got the call.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough, man. It's you're done now. I mean, obviously you've moved on in your life. You're in retirement. What's retirement been like? And I mean, do you not necessarily have the itch to fight? Cause I can't sense that from you. But do you still like to train or anything like that?
No, I don't like to. I don't want to train or anything. It just my body just hurts, man. I'm beat up and sore and tired. If I've been talking to bare knuckle boxing a little bit, and if the right fight came about, I would do it. But my body just wouldn't allow me to do MMA. I just can't. I helped my son's wrestling team and stuff, and just getting down on the floor and doing sprawls and all that stuff. My knee's a shot. But bare knuckle boxing, someone's going to stand in front of me and we're going to throw hands. I'm down for that. I think the biggest thing I miss is the competition, the roar of the crowd. I don't miss training. Any real true fighter, fight camps, just destroy you, beat up your body and stuff. And if it's not, then you're not training hard enough.
Yeah.
But I miss the roar of the crowd, definitely.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, man. Well, I hope the bare knuckle thing happens, man. I'd love to see you in there, and I think a lot of people would love to see you get back in action. And what's going on?
One guy to say yes. So,
well, there we go. What's going on with the arm, man? I saw there's kind of a GoFundMe going on. What's up with the arm? Just run us through it real quick, man. Give me the Cliff Notes version of this arm situation.
Basically, the plates, I started getting an infection and it started bothering me, and finally went in, got some x-rays, and they wasn't sure what was going on, but they said you got some sort of infection and we need to take the plates out. So they took the one out closest to the outside, and I sheared 2 bolt heads off. And wow. That's what was causing the infection. So they pulled that out, and now I've been out. I went in and got my staples out today, so tomorrow marks 2 weeks from the surgery. Everything seems to be healing up good. They did find out it was a staph infection, so they've got me on a couple different antibiotics right now. And I go see infection control tomorrow, and they said that they'll know a little more about the staph infection stuff, but everything's looking pretty good. Worst case scenario, they'll have to go back in and take out the 2 more plates.
Okay.
And like a dumbass, I don't have insurance, so I had to pay for this out of my pocket. Luckily, yeah, I know. Luckily the fan stepped up and took care of the GoFundMe, and that's made it so I didn't have to drain my bank account to pay for it all. Everyone, I had some saying, where you don't have a savings, or why don't you have money saved? I was like, look, I do. I have a house, I have a farm, I have a truck payment, I have a kid. I have things I need to support. I've got 20 grand in the bank, but to pay for all this, I'll have $4 grand in the bank. That's not something I need a cushion, just in case something bad happens,
Yeah, well, especially in these times, man, everything's wild. Everything's on the ropes. Well, Tim, thanks so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you and the family are good. I hope the arm gets healed up better, and just appreciate you giving us a few minutes, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Here's the arm. If you want to look at it, I know it's
there it is. There's that bad boy.
Yep. So it's
I saw some stuff. I saw some nasty business coming out of that the other day on online on your Instagram. It's a nasty looking situation.
I want what they know they're dealing with, and the UFC wouldn't step up and help out, which I was a little shocked. People most everybody thought they should. There was a few who were like, "Why is the UFC responsible?" It's like, well, let me ask you this: if you're on a 9-to-5 job and you fall off a ladder and break your leg, and that's workman's comp, so 10 years later, that happened because you were working.
Yeah.
So 10 years later, are they responsible? Absolutely, they're responsible because it happened while you were on the job. Well, fighting it happened while I was on the job. They say, well, you're too dumb to tap. Well, no, I wasn't dumb to tap. It didn't, I felt the pressure, but it didn't feel like it was going to break. But it did break, and it didn't hurt, and I was off, and I wanted to keep fighting. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, you just said a lot there, dude. You just said a lot there, and that's interesting, kind of hearing that side of it. And you hate to hear that they're not stepping up in that situation, but the fans are there for you, bro, and that's an amazing thing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Some of you guys do or don't know, I have a hunting show on the Sportsman's Channel, Hit Squad Outdoors with Tim Sylvia, so you can still kind of follow me around and see what I'm doing. I'm not the mean, nasty guy when I was when I was fighting. I no longer have that chip on my shoulder because I no longer need to be on guard. I'm relaxed. I'm chill. I eat what I want, and I'm no longer dieting. So, it's a lot easier life. That's for sure.
No doubt, man. We're glad to hear it. And thank you so much for joining us, man. I
All right,
definitely
man.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
There it is. And there it is, folks. That is Tim Sylvia. What an awesome episode, man. Hitting the Midwest stuff. Tim Sylvia and Monty Cox. I want to thank both guys for joining us. And make sure you check out our social media for our next interviews. I'm Cyrus Fees. We'll see you next time on In This Corner.